All right, we are 4-0 in our last four college basketball tier package picks on BrockPage.com. And the link for that pick is in the description section below. $1,000 bettors are now up over $3,600 during that span. I'm also 3-0 my last three board member tier package picks on that very same webpage. And $1,000 bettors are also up over $2,700 during that stretch as well. And as always, guys, all the picks that I give out on my website, they're my personal bets, games that I personally have action on. And with that, guys, let's go ahead and jump into some free content. We're going to start with the Grizzlies taking on the Magic, 5 p.m. Eastern start time. Memphis is minus 7.5, totals 224. And even though the Grizzlies have played some really good basketball here recently, they're already going to work without Dillon Brooks for a while. And they may have to get after it here tonight without their best player, Ja Morant. The point guard's currently battling a foot injury. And I'll tell you this much, even when they're mostly healthy, the Grizzlies really haven't shot the basketball all that great on the road this year. Memphis is currently in the bottom 10 in offensive field goal percentage on the road. And in addition to that, they're also making just 32% of their three-pointers in that very same category. Let me turn this TV down. It's really loud. Yeah, that wasn't a part of the script here, but anyway, I was getting noisy. But anyway, like I said, even when they're mostly healthy, Grizzlies aren't shooting great. They're in the bottom 10 in offensive field goal percentage on the road. I already said that. They're making just 32% of their three-pointers in that same category. Now, defensively, the Grizzlies are amongst the worst in the Western Conference in guarding the three ball away from home as well. They're taking on an Orlando team who covered the point spread in 4 out of their last 6. And they actually got the outright W 4 times during that span. The Magic beat the likes of Indiana, Dallas, Detroit, and Chicago during that stretch I just mentioned. They're also in the top 10 in the NBA in fourth quarter scoring. Cole Anthony's averaging over 17.5 points a game, along with 5 boards and 6 assists. Meanwhile, Franz Wagner scoring 15 points a game himself, along with 4 rebounds and a couple assists as well. Now, when it comes to shooting from the stripe, Orlando is currently in the top 10 in offensive free throw percentage at home, so when they do get fouled, when they get put to the line, they are making their opponents pay. Now, injury-wise, it's actually the usual suspects still out for, Orlando here. Meanwhile, for Memphis on the other side of things, once again, Brooks is out, Morant is questionable. When it comes to the total on this one, Memphis saw unders recently with Washington, San Antonio, and Dallas. They're also 60% to the under in their last 10 meetings with Orlando. So if you're into historical trends, you certainly want to think about that one there. Meanwhile, the Magic on the other side of things, they saw unders recently with Chicago, Portland, and the Clippers. I'm going to lean toward Orlando plus 7.5 and the under 224. Next matchup, it is going to be Heat versus the Hornets, 7 p.m. Eastern tip-off. Miami's minus 3 with the total at 227.5. And even though Miami struggled against the number here recently, they're still the best three-point shooting team in the game. They're actually first in the NBA in offensive three-point percentage. Now, Jimmy Butler, he's also averaging over 21.5 points a game, along with 6 rebounds and 6 assists. Meanwhile, Tyler Hero, he's scoring over 20 points a night himself, along with 4 boards and 4 assists as well. And speaking of rebounds, the Heat's actually leading the entire NBA in defensive boards per game. They're taking on a struggling Charlotte team who lost their last 3 straight, and they also dropped 5 out of their last 7. And although the Hornets are a pleasure to watch on the offensive end of the court, they've kind of been a nightmare when playing defense. They haven't been great on the defensive end of the court. The Hornets are actually in the bottom 3 in points allowed per contest. And when it comes to rebounding the basketball, Charlotte's also amongst the worst in the NBA in defensive boards at home. Now, when it comes to the injury report in this one, McDaniels is questionable for Charlotte. Meanwhile, for Miami, Tucker, Strus, and Martin, they are questionable for them. Opala and Morris, they are out. Now, total-wise, Miami went 7-1 to the over in their last 8 ball games, 19-10 to the over when they travel. Meanwhile, Charlotte saw overs recently with Indiana, Toronto, and the Lakers. The Hornets are also 70% to the over in their last 10 meetings with Miami. I'm going to lean toward the Heat, -3, and the over, 227.5. Next ball game, it is going to be Suns versus the Wizards, 7 p.m. Eastern tip-off. Phoenix is -8, the total at 220.5. Now, Phoenix got the W in 11 out of their last 12 ball games, and they're actually leading the NBA in shooting from the field. Devin Booker's averaging 25.5 points a night, along with 5 rebounds and 4 assists. Meanwhile, DeAndre Ayton, he's scoring 16 points a game, along with double-digit rebounds. Phoenix is currently in the top 3 in the NBA in scoring on average per contest. They're also winning over 79% of their ball games on the road. They're taking on a Washington club who's still going to work here today without their leading scorer, Bradley Beal. Now, the Wizards also lost 6 out of their last 7 ball games, and they covered the point spread only once during that span. Now, the Wizards have had some significant problems on the offensive end of the court this season. They actually find themselves in the bottom 10 in the NBA in scoring on average per game. And they're also amongst the worst three-point shooting team in the Eastern Conference. Now, when it comes to the injury report in this one, once again, Bradley Beal is out. Thomas Bryant is questionable. Meanwhile, for Phoenix on the other side of things, Kaminsky, Payne, Nader, Saric, and Shamet, they're all still out for them. Those guys have been out for some significant periods of time here, so almost want to refer to them as the usual suspects. I know I do that with Orlando, but anyway, when it comes to the total in this one, Phoenix saw unders recently with San Antonio, Utah, and Indiana. They're also 15-9 to the under when they travel. Now, Washington, on the other side, they saw their last 3 straight fall under the posted number themselves, 6-2 to the under in their last 8. I'm going to lean toward Phoenix -8 and the under 220.5. Next ball game, it is going to be New York versus the Lakers, 8:30 Eastern tip-off. LA is -2.5 with the total at 212. But despite being favored in this one, the Lakers lost 4 out of their last 5 ball games. They're covering the point spread in just 39% of their home games. Now, when it comes to rebounding the basketball, the Lakers are the worst team in the NBA in home defensive boards. And speaking of defense in this one, LA also finds themselves in the bottom 3 in points allowed per contest on their home court. Now, they're taking on a Knicks team who's in the top 10 in offensive rebounding themselves. When it comes to the scoring in this one, Julius Randle's averaging 18.5 points a game, along with 9 boards and 5 assists. Meanwhile, R.J. Barrett, he's scoring 17.5 points a night himself, along with 5 rebounds and 2.5 assists as well. And when it comes to defensive play in this one, the Knicks allow fewer points per contest on the road than any other team in the NBA. They're also in the top 3 in the league in defensive field goal percentage away from home as well. Now, total-wise, New York did see their last 4 straight get over the posted number. The Knicks are also 70% to the over in their last 10. Meanwhile, the Lakers, on the other side of things, they saw 5 out of their last 8 get over the line themselves. Real quick here, when it comes to the injury report here for the Lakers, Anthony Nunn and LeBron, they're all out. Anthony Davis, he's also questionable as well. I'm going to lean toward the New York Knicks +2.5 and the over 212. Next ball game, it is going to be Bucks versus the Blazers, 10 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Milwaukee's -10.5 with the total at 228. And even though Milwaukee's the clear-cut favorite in this one, they have had some issues covering the point spread. They're just 3-6 against the number in their last 9 ball games, and they have a losing record against the spread on the road. And speaking of road games in this one, the Bucks actually allow more third-quarter points per contest on the road than any other team in the association. They're actually taking on a Portland club who's covered the number recently against the likes of Houston, Minnesota, and Toronto, despite their recent struggles. And as bad as Portland, has been this season, and believe me, they've been bad, but as bad as they've been, they're actually still winning 50% of their ball games at the Moda Center. So it's not incredibly impressive stat there, but for as bad as they've been, they're still winning half their games at home. Now, C.J. McCollum, he's scoring over 20.5 points a game, along with 4 boards and 4 assists. Meanwhile, Anthony Simons, he's scoring over 15.5 points a game himself, along with 2 boards and 3 assists. Now, the Blazers are actually in the top 5 in the NBA in offensive three-point percentage at home. When it comes to the injury report, Lillard and Zeller are still out indefinitely. Larry Nance Jr. is questionable. Meanwhile, for Milwaukee, on the other side of things, Hill and Lopez are still out for them. When it comes to the total, Portland saw 5 out of their last 9 get over the line. Meanwhile, 5 out of Milwaukee's last 8 got over the posted total themselves. I'm going to lean toward Portland plus 10.5 and the over 228. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup of the show. It is going to be Oklahoma City versus Sacramento, 10 p.m. Eastern tip-off. Sacramento's minus 6.5, totals 216. Now, Sacramento covered the number in 3 out of their last 4 ball games, and they do rank in the top 10 in second quarter scoring at home. Harrison Barnes, he's drilling 41% of his three-pointers. He's also averaging 16 points a game. Meanwhile, Buddy Hield, he's scoring 14.5 points per contest off the bench, along with 4 rebounds. Now, the Kings covered the point spread here recently against the likes of Golden State, Brooklyn, and Philadelphia. They're taking on an OKC team who's in the second of a back-to-back, and they also score fewer points per contest than any other team in the NBA. OKC is also shooting just 40% from the field on the road, and they rank dead last in offensive three-point percentage. Now, injury-wise, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he's still out. Roby and Wiggins are also listed as questionable. Meanwhile, for Sacramento on the other side, Fox and Bagley, they are listed as questionable for them. When it comes to the scoring in this one, Sacramento's 5-1 to the under in their last 6. Meanwhile, OKC went 6-3 to the under in their last 9. I'm going to lean towards Sacramento minus 6.5 and the under 216. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our quick pick recap. Powered to you by my website at brockpage.com. We're currently 4-0 in our last 4 college basketball tier package picks. I like Orlando plus 7.5 under 224. Miami minus 3 over 227.5. Phoenix Suns minus 8 under 220 and a hook. New York Knicks plus 2.5 over 212. Portland plus 10.5 over 228. And with my next and final free pick for the video, I'm going to lean toward the Sacramento Kings minus 6.5 and the under 216. And with that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on brockpage.com. Now, if you guys do end up getting a membership here today on my website, just keep in mind, you're going to get billed the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. So if you do end up getting a membership here today on brockpage.com, you're actually going to get access to those picks all the way through the end of February. I always tell folks in every single video, the earlier in the month you sign up, the better. And guys, if you want to get access to every single bet that I give out on that website, you're going to want to think about signing up for my board member tier package. Not only do board members get access to the board member tier pick itself, you actually get access to every other package that I offer on that website. It's an all-inclusive membership. But anyway, guys, most importantly, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, guys, happy Saturday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at brockpage.com.